Sessions. My name is Eboni Harris.
And I'm Eliza Mokeen, and we are two brown chicks changing the face of therapy on both sides of the couch.
Yes. Thank you for joining us as always. We appreciate you for watching. I'm going to do this a little bit opposite. Follow us across social media at Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter, and make sure you go to Melanin and Mental Health to find a dope therapist. We have plenty of therapists, and we get new therapists signing up every single week or every day to put their private practice. So if you're looking for a brown or Latin or brown or black Latinx therapist, that is the place to go.
And we're starting to challenge our guests.
Yes.
If you're not already on the directory, we want to see you on there.
Exactly.
So sign up.
Yes.
Sabra.
She's like shaking her head. But definitely, I will make sure. Yeah, I'm not. I think I am, but I will make sure.
Okay.
Awesome. I love
If you are, we'll link it and stuff in the show notes. We like to make sure we shout out our dope therapists. So
Great.
today we're joined by Sabra Starnes, who we just called out. Sabra. Okay.
Call us out. Okay.
She's like, I'm okay with that. So Sabra is here to talk. We're going to talk about play therapy. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit about your story, what led you to your practice, and to being in mental health?
Yeah, so my practice started in 2001. I was a new mom. I had just adopted my two sons, so I was trying to figure out my career, having two young children and knowing that I couldn't continue to do some of the jobs I was doing as a social worker. So I started working with a psychologist, and we were doing TheraPlay, which is a form of play therapy where you're working with families using play-based interactions. And I fell in love, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is my jam right here as far as what I want to do. And so from there, I became a registered play therapist. I went through the trainings and became certified as a play therapist. And I've been doing my practice has been open since 2000. It's been a small practice. It's grown, and now I'm back doing full time after leaving some contract work.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. So doing something that worked for you and your family is what led to you find an interest in play therapy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah.
I feel like whenever we ask that question, that's often like a similarity. People are like, well, I went through this and this was helpful, so I decided I wanted to help people.
Paying it forward.
Yeah. So can you explain some of the benefits of play therapy? I think a lot of times when we have conversations with people that aren't as familiar with it, it's like, so they're just going to play with our kids? Like, they're just...
I get that all the time. Parents are like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Right.
So it to the untrained eye, it does look like kids are just coming in and, just ripping and running in a room that's filled with toys and dollhouses and puppets. But really, it's very thoughtful as far as what is in the space and how it's arranged in a way so that really the goal is for children is to use the children's language, which is play, speak to their developmental level, and give children an opportunity to choose how they want to heal. And often children don't have a lot of say in their life. And so giving them a time where it's a special place to come into the room where they can express themselves in ways that I rarely say no to a child, because everything in the room they can touch. There's nothing that they can't look at and play with. So play therapy has two ways of working with a child. You can use a directive approach where the therapist has created an activity to work with the child, maybe a child who's working on needing to help around focus. So I might have them do an activity. I might be directing it around deep breathing, around noticing our body, and we'll do some activity. It's always about movement, though. We're always trying to engage movement. And then it's non-directive, which is also called child-centered. It's allowing the child to be the lead in what they're wanting to play with, where the therapist follows the child, interacts with the child, and whatever the child wants to do, the therapist just follows their lead. When the child is imaginative to be a dinosaur and wants you to be an angry dinosaur, you just go with it. You're in there. So it's about really helping a child play and interact around their feelings, expressing themselves, talking about things that not having to use words to talk about something that has been a challenge, a struggle, a trauma. They can use it through playing.
Yeah. I love what you said in there. You said it's really giving a child the opportunity to choose how they want to heal. I never thought of play therapy in that way, probably because I don't specialize in play therapy.
Yeah. And you think about that when it comes to even school, parenting, all of that. A lot of it is kind of like putting them in a more structured, like, I don't want to say box, but like sometimes we don't get the free play. We don't get to just kind of, it's like, these are the things you need to do. Right. This is how you play. And so they have the opportunity to kind of like explore a little bit more. Kids may not get feel that choice. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that. Giving a child the choice on how to heal.
Yeah.
Love that.
And I should add, play therapy is for 2 to 100. So it doesn't have
that was the next question because, when you think of play therapy, you do think of children. That's the first thing that play. Right. Because adults don't believe in playing anymore.
We do, but we forget.
We play different. We play different.
So I'm here to remind adults.
Yeah.
Still find that kid in you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of when I think about asking adults to do the work, I've got to get the little Sabra and me to come out and play. That's why I love doing this work. And so when I have adults in my space, I have sensory items like squishy balls, Play-Doh. I have, just paper, crayons. I have markers, just for clients to use, the adults to use this in some different ways. And when I work with families, having them in the play therapy room with their child, having a parent, put the phone down, getting on the floor with me. I had a dad once in a suit and tie. I was like, let's go, Dad. And when they were able to see the child in a different way around engaging and being imaginative and being creative, and having parents feeling a little, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but having really parents to see that when they can follow their child's lead and understand what's going on in the room, they can see that really it's not just a bunch of toys in a room. It's really about there's really power in the play that children are able to use. And I also find children don't play the way that they used to.
Right.
Technology has, I love technology, but for a lot of kids, they come in my room, they're like, I don't know what that is, So having them get back to just the basics of enjoying laughter and silliness and seeing an adult be silly that's not a friend or family. As a therapist, they get to see me be silly and playful, and trust that they're with someone that's safe.
Yeah.
You said something a little bit before us kind of talking about how, 2 to 100. You said it gives people the opportunity to heal without going into the story, right? Like it being the somatic experience that, what we know about trauma is so beneficial to be able to just kind of release that trauma, get that out of us without having to go into a story, or because a lot of times the memory isn't there. So I'm just saying, so give us some interventions that we could use with adults,
Right. Yes.
What are the benefits for adults?
One of the things
also.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just asking, what are the benefits for adults as well?
Yeah, so I think what it also helps adults to shift from using their left brain of analyzing and trying to, be more analytical, to really that right brain, which is really around being creative, taking them back to areas and spaces that may be hard and difficult to talk about, but when it can be one of the things that I do with adults and children is I use sand tray therapy, which is using a sand tray. Can be any specific size. It doesn't really matter as far as but you're putting sand in it, and then you're using small different shapes of miniatures of all different types for clients to use that to process things unconsciously. And for adults, a lot of it will come up with unresolved issues, loss and grief, but then it allows them a different way to start to tell the story. And initially I've had adults a little bit reserved, like, this looks a little, I don't know, it looks a little weird. But then they're really surprised when they are able to see their things unfold, where I've had clients, become very tearful and like wow moments and oh my goodness. And then we can move into more talk because we've opened up some areas that we weren't able to get to just using talk.
Right. So are there interventions or concepts that clinicians can use even if they don't have the play therapy training that they can start to kind of incorporate within their practices?
I would say, definitely using the sense of playfulness, being a little bit more, not just on the, therapist on the chair, client on the couch. You're having your space have a different feel to it. One of the things, having your lighting, having your, just sense of the space may be a little bit, having that be a little more playful, engaging. Having sensory items, again, having that, items that clients can, if they would like to have access to, picking something up, having blankets and pillows. So making your space a little bit more comfortable in a different way that doesn't always make the best fit for the therapist, but might be a good fit for the client.
Yeah. I like that. I like the sensory items things as well, because I think about, like, there are things in our offices, but they're not always so accessible to the clients, right? So to have, I'm thinking in my head, like a basket under your coffee table. Yeah. That has like random items that they could kind of grab on if they wanted to.
Yeah. You remind me, I had those squishy balls. I had some for a while in here. They were like, they looked like a macaroon or, like I had just picked some up. And it was always so interesting to me, like when the clients would come in and they just start, like grabbing them and, the more intense the session, I would see them going to town. I can't remember why I got rid of them, but now you make me think, okay, we need to go to the dollar store and pick up some.
Because I was going to get pillows.
Yeah, and the beauty with play therapy is it's not one specific theory. So when a lot of times when I'm training and I supervise those who are going through the credentialing, I let them know, don't put your theory to the side, or if you're trained, if you do couples if you do Gottman, if you do cognitive behavior therapy, incorporate that into your work with the play therapy. So there's not like one theory or one way of doing play therapy. It's very vast and extensive as far as what you can use, how you can use play therapy, which is just why I love it. It's so accessible and easy for people to adapt and use.
Well, and I think the theme that I'm hearing with play therapy is options. Like creating more options and choice and choice.
Right. And so it doesn't have to feel like I come in, I sit, I talk, and I leave. Right. Like I like the idea of the movement. I like, because I think that's a big part of therapy as well, of course, is like body language and how people, what happens when they are in tense situations. And so if you can have these different resources for them to be able to grab or touch and things, and it gives you more information to be able to.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and everyone's going to respond differently, so you're giving them options that some clients around who are visual, who are auditory, who are kinesthetic, you're giving them some options to connect that will be more individualized to the client.
Right. So for you, what are some of your favorite resources or books or podcasts?
Yes. Well, so this is my favorite book. Okay. I wrote this with three other play therapists of color.
That's so awesome.
And
I love it.
It's a play therapy toolbox book. It's filled with directives and activities that you can create and use with your children, teenagers, families, couples. And one of the feedback we've gotten it's the first one that's been created by play therapists of color.
I love it.
So I was really excited about that, and it's in color, which people were like, oh, I know that.
Let's look at the cover of the book. That is so cute.
Look at that. It's your play therapy toolbox, and it has 46 different activities. And one of the things I also really enjoy doing is I like making my own activities. So in here, the three of us, we each added 12 activities that we've made our own, or we adapted from activity. And so that's really, again, not things that you have to go out and spend that, big bucks for. These are things that you can make. One, I have an activity where you have a book. It's called The Invisible String, and it's a book that's used for around loss and grief, around separation, when maybe a client who has separation anxiety from a parent, or maybe who's lost a parent, and I read the book to the child and the family, and then afterwards we make a string of hearts and put names of people that either the child is missing or the parents write some notes of remembering I love you even when I'm not next to you or I'm not there, you're still in my heart. So giving a child some ways around connection, touch, and relationship.
I love that. I love that.
How do people get the book?
Yes. So the book, if I can put the link in where they can order, the book it's $25. It comes out with my signature.
Okay.
It's a signed copy, and it's shipping including in the United States. And I can drop the link where people can purchase them, and I can send them out. I'm like Amazon. I get them out very quickly.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely put them in the Facebook,
Definitely.
Live, and then send it to us so we can make sure we put it in the show notes. So when people are listening to this later, they can make sure they order the book.
Awesome.
Great.
That sounds like an amazing resource.
Thank you.
And that brought me to a thought that I didn't say earlier. I've had people that I know that have done play therapy as adults, and one of the things that they'll notice is that the toys don't look like them. And so, how important is it to have diverse toys?
Inclusive.
Yeah, inclusive toys.
Yeah. It's huge. And so again, I've been doing play therapy now for 19 years, and one of the things that is starting to change is there are more dolls and toys that are looking like clients of color. When I travel and go out of country, I always make sure to get something because I really want to make sure I'm honoring my clients' values, their culture, their ethnicity. So I really really stress to people when you are creating your play therapy space not to look at it from your lens, but look at a lens that is going to be, and a child walks in, will they be able to see themselves in the toys, in the markers, in the crayons, in the miniatures? Will they see themselves? Yesterday I was at the dollar store and I bought some large poster paper and it's brown. So when I do mapping where I have a child make a body on themselves, now I don't have just white, and they don't have to paint it. It's brown already. So I always keep saying, keep that lens of knowing how important it is for our children to have their, strong self of themselves and to see themselves in the room. And if you're non-clinician of color, that you really make sure that is something that you really take into account and consider and think about.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah. So why do you think therapy is dope?
Oh, wow. Why therapy dope? Because it's fun.
I was going to say, I think you're probably like the most fun therapist. Like your energy just is so, like, dang.
I have kids who are like, okay, Miss Sabra, bring it down and
Bring it down.
bring it down. They're like, easy, but no, it's fun because you get to help clients in a way that just, I can't imagine doing therapy without having these, interventions for clients to be able to have something in between around talking about trauma, talking about loss and grief, something that really gives them something to put in between the pain and helps them around the healing. It's great to have, I do have some kids who are like, don't want to come, but I have a lot of kids, it's like trying to get them to leave and parents to go. I'm like, get out of here, your session's over. But I think why it's dope is that it allows a therapist to be creative, to continue to grow. I have taken so many different trainings. I have taken EMDR and play therapy, and you name it. I've gotten so many different ways in my toolbox that has made it, just keeps it interesting and fun.
Yes.
I love it.
That's great. That's awesome. So tell us what makes you a dope therapist.
Yeah, so what makes me dope therapist, I have been a registered play therapist supervisor for 5 years, and I do play therapy trainings and webinars that have just really are very innovative and creative. So, and my goal is I want the world to have play therapists. I think if we had more play therapists of color, the world would be a happier place. So that's my commitment to really helping spread the word about play therapy. I do networking events. I go out in the community and talk about the importance of mental health and using play therapy to really take the myth away of what you talked about earlier, that it's not just for certain kids to have this access to them. It's for all of our clients to have access to the best. Yes. And in adult therapy, so I really work hard at being fun and creative and making this a really special place for any client that comes into my space. I want them to really feel trusted, honored, and heard.
I love it. I'm sold. I'm like, let's go skip to the park.
I thought you were going to say, let's go play therapy.
Let's go play. We're in the park nearby. I feel like skipping. Your energy is infectious. Yes. So absolutely. I'm sold. We got to bring some play up in here.
That's the plan. Our office is going to be completely different. Yes.
Definitely. So let me know if I can, help you with any suggestions. Just reach out.
Thank you. No, that's awesome. So tell everybody, how do they keep in contact if they want to become one of your clients or just follow you? How do they do that?
Yes, so I am on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and it's my handle is Sabra Starnes. So nice and easy. You can find me there, and on those platforms is where I post my upcoming webinars, my workshops, things that are going on. I'm all over the place. You can easily find me there, and then I can also my information. My website is SabraStarnes.com. As well.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This is fun and informative.
Thank you for having me. You guys are dope.
Thank you. Make sure that you follow Sabra and learn more about how play therapy can help your clients, whether they're kids or adults. I think that is really, because we make it very clear that we do not work with kids
at all.
We have plenty of people to refer to, but I love the idea of even with couples, how do we incorporate play within our session? So we appreciate that. And thank you guys for listening. Yes. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Again, follow us across social media, Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter, and head over to Melanin and Mental Health to find all of our previous podcasts and dope gear.
We're about to go play at the park.
And we're about to go play. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.